What's up, everybody?
Hey.
So I'm going to talk to you guys today about my beloved Philadelphia Eagles. For those of you who follow football, you may know that this past year the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl. But did you know that in 1948 they won the NFL championship? 1949 they won the NFL championship. 1960 they won the NFL championship. And then in 1943, not a championship, but they were combined with the Pittsburgh Steelers to create the Steagles. This is the logo that was seen on their uniforms. It was a very ugly color scheme, but they were formed as a result of World War II. So today I'm going to cover the history of the Philadelphia Eagles, or the lineage of the Philadelphia Eagles rather, by covering the history, some of the notable coaches, and some of the players that helped to form this lineage. You want to go ahead? Philadelphia Eagles started back in 1924 as the Frankfurt Yellow Jackets. At the time, it was very hard for them to gain a good fan base because Philadelphia was a college town. Back in the day, Penn was playing teams like Notre Dame, Southern California, Michigan. So college football was very competitive at the time, but pro football was not. The Frankfurt Yellow Jackets are actually named for a small part of the city, Frankfurt being a small municipal such as South Phoenix or Alhambra in terms of Phoenix terms. The team went bankrupt in 1931 because of the Great Depression. I'm going to go ahead and hit that. In 1933, a man named Bert Bell, this gentleman right here with his hair slicked back like Dracula, he bought the team. He changed the team name to the Eagles. The reason for changing the team name to the Eagles, he wanted to pay homage to FDR's National Recovery Act, which designated parks such as Yellowstone and a lot of the other national parks that we know today. Go ahead. Bert Bell actually also acted as the commissioner of the league from 1943 to 1949. So now we covered the founding. We're going to look at some of the coaches that have made the history what it is today. First coach of the Eagles, go ahead, was indeed Bert Bell. He founded the team and decided he was going to coach the team. Although he didn't have much success, he gave it a good try. And he was indeed the coach of the Steagles back in that is a typo, 1944 it should say right there. Following Mr. Bell was Greasy Neal. Greasy Neal was a hometown hero. He played quarterback for the Yellow Jackets back when they were the Yellow Jackets. He also played professional baseball. He played for the Philadelphia Phillies, so he was a big hometown guy. And he led the Eagles to their 1948 NFL championship that I had talked about earlier. They beat the Chicago Cardinals, now the Arizona Cardinals, 7-0, just for reference. Go ahead. Continuing on with the pre-Super Bowl, so this is before the Super Bowl actually became a thing, when it was still called the NFL Championship. Buck Shaw, he was another coach who led the Eagles to their championship in 1960. And little notable fact, he is the only coach to ever defeat Vince Lombardi in the playoffs. He defeated him in the NFL Championship in 1960 by a score of 17-13. Go ahead. Now we're going to move on to some Super Bowl era coaches. So this is after the Super Bowl became a thing. We started playing the big game. 1980, the Eagles went to the Super Bowl under head coach Dick Vermeil. If any of you guys are familiar with him, he coached from 1976. He took a short pause and coached again in the late 2000s. So he coached recently as well. He started the Eagles-Cowboys rivalry 2 years before he had taken over. The Cowboys were first in the division, and Mr. Vermeil made it his goal that the Eagles would be #1 in the division. Thus, they had to defeat the Cowboys. This created a big, huge rivalry, and it's still in act to this day. Okay. Moving on, Andy Reid. He is one of the Super Bowl coaches that I followed when I was a kid. He brought the Eagles to four straight NFC Championship games, 2001, 2002, and 2003. Each time they lost never reaching the Super Bowl, but in 2004 they actually did make the Super Bowl under him. He is the most winning coach in Eagles franchise history. He has a record for 130 wins recorded, and his one Super Bowl appearance in 2004, which was a loss against the Patriots. Moving on, Doug Peterson, who led the team to the Super Bowl this year. He's a new coach, took over in 2016, and led the Eagles to their Super Bowl. So now moving on, we covered the history and the coaches that have made up this franchise. We're going to take a look at some of the players. Keep going. Steve Van Buren, he was a running back during the 1948 championship team that defeated the Chicago Cardinals. He was the four-time rushing leader, and his number 15 is currently retired by the Eagles. Go on. Norm Van Brocklin. This man led the Eagles to their 1960 championship team, and he also has the nickname the Dutchman. Moving on. Ron Jaworski. He is the first Eagles quarterback to lead the team to a Super Bowl. Led the team to the Super Bowl against the Oakland Raiders in 1980, and he currently works for ESPN.